And fundamentally, you're trying to work out what's the essence of your uniqueness. And then how do you bring that uniqueness together to say, okay, if that's me, what kind of life do I want to be living? What is my best life? Kind of unpack it, repack it, that you're joining the dots on you. Ultimately, given all these things and who I am, what does that mean for the life I want to live? That's how you work it out. It is unique to each person. That's why it's called a unique life fingerprint.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Finding Equilibrium show. Delighted to be here, delighted that you're here, and delighted that my guest today is Gill McLaren. Gill, good morning. Gill and I met through Wellbeing at Work. Gill was a partner at the Wellbeing at Work conference last year in Sydney. And since then, we've discovered that we have a huge amount in common. Gill had a C-suite career for Coca-Cola for 20 years, traveling all around the world. She then took a bit of a sideways step, perhaps, realizing that what she'd learned as a strategist in the corporate world could be applied to life design. She wrote a book called Think, Plan, Live, which is an incredible book for anybody who's stuck. This is an incredibly valuable resource. I read it, and then Gill and I got together to say, what can we do together? And I'm so delighted that you're here. How are you, Gill? Lovely to see you. Where are you today?
Yeah, I'm on the Central Coast in part of my life design. So just looking out on the garden here. So yeah, lovely to be here. We've had such great conversations about this, Lawrence. So looking forward to do it on the Finding Equilibrium show.
Yeah. So maybe we jump straight in. So I've given a bit of an introduction, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story. Like, how did you come to doing this work? Think, Plan, Live, and everything that you're doing now on the back of a very successful corporate career, a career where you were up there with the key movers and shakers, let's say. So
thank you.
I'd love to hear your journey to this one.
No, it probably does seem a bit of a strange path for some people listening. But yeah, it was a 30-year corporate career, 20 of those with Coca-Cola, as you said, all around the world. And much of that time was in strategic work. So I led strategy across GB when I was back in the UK, and then came to Australia in a kind of commercial director role and ended up in Malaysia as a GM role. So a very commercial career with strategy at its core. But during that time, I just became increasingly interested in humans, funnily enough, rather than the numbers side of things or joining the dots on strategy work. I really became super interested in the dynamics in teams and what made one person either live up to their potential or not. And then it was a very personal journey as well, actually. So while I was during that time with Coca-Cola, I was on the Global Women's Leadership Council as well. And we got to see these amazing panels around the world. And one of the panels, a topic was actually work-life balance. One of the panelists talked about, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in living your best life. And she went on to elaborate. You're just so in tune with who you are, and you've got that sense of who you are. And I met up with her at the break and I said, I love that. This idea of best life design. How do you work it out? Because at the time I was far from in tune with who I was, and it was feeling a bit stressed and stretched. And she said, just kind of know. You just kind of know when you're in the zone of who you are. I said, yeah, but how do you work it out? He said, well, there's just this sense of knowing. So I probably went on a 10-year journey after that to try and work out what was the answer to that question about, okay, how do you know? So a lot of TED Talks, a lot of tools done, a lot of self-reflection to ultimately emerge with what now is in the book, Think, Plan, Live. But at the time, I was only trying to work it out for me. I wasn't trying to work it out with a broader desire to write a book or do it with other people. I was like, I just need to work this out. But then when I started sharing some of the tools and how I did it, it became a bigger and bigger thing. And ultimately, it's what I do now and what left the corporate world some 10 years ago now to focus 100% on, best life design, dynamics in teams. That's what I really love.
I love that. And that question, living your best life, because that jumped out when I read your book. How do you live your best life? And am I living my best life? And is that even a possibility? So that question, that same question you asked that lady, whenever it was 10, 12 years ago, I'll ask that same question to you. What is life design? How do you live your best life?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Ultimately, you deconstruct it a little bit and then reconstruct it. So I think all the ingredients of your best life, and ultimately the answer would still be the same. You just kind of know. So by the end, you just kind of know. But what's the pathway to doing that? Fundamentally discovering what I would call your unique life fingerprint. So what's in that? Fundamentally, who am I, which would be your value system, your strengths, what shaped you to who you are now. The with part of your fingerprint, which is the people, places, situations that bring out the best in you. Why, which is about purpose. And those three in combo work out the what do I do? Most people ask a what question. What do you want to do for a job? What do you want to be when you grow up? We ask children. But ultimately, the what question can only be really answered with the fundamentally, who are you and who do you like doing it with? And then you move on to that from the where. So where do you want to be? Again, my life design has got a lot of where in it. I'm deliberately on the Central Coast now, surrounded by nature. That was a huge part of my life design approach. And then when is sequencing, like milestone planning, integrating your life. So those are the ingredients that ultimately you can unpack and then repack, and that becomes your best life design. So ultimately, I think why a lot of these things don't necessarily work is that people talk about best life, and it is a term that gets used quite a lot. But often it's like, well, yeah, but how do I work it out? And fundamentally, you're trying to work out what's the essence of your uniqueness. And then how do you bring that uniqueness together to say, okay, if that's me, what kind of life do I want to be living? What is my best life? So that's really at the core of it. So unpack it, repack it, join the dots on who you are, which is where some of that strategy brain probably comes in, is that you're joining the dots on you. Ultimately, given all these things and who I am, what does that mean for the ultimately the life I want to live? So yeah, that's how you work it out. And it is so unique. It is unique to each person. That's why it's called a unique life fingerprint. At the end of the day, your life design is unique to that.
I love that. So that's a core thing. How do you live your best life? What I hear you say is you get to know yourself first. You understand who you really are. And in your language, you understand your life fingerprint. Where do you start? What is is it understanding your values? Is it your strengths? Like where is the starting point for somebody who's listening to this and thinking, that sounds great, but that's far away from where I am now. A bit what you said when you spoke to that woman, it's almost showing you something, but it's like, where do I start? And that's always a problem because it can feel very overwhelming when you're designing a life. So I'd love you to share maybe your own journey in terms of the way you started or what you advise other people in terms of the starting point.
Yeah, there's a few different styles. I would always start with the who part of that fingerprint. So fundamentally, who am I? And there's a few ins there. So in the book, the first tool in the book, and it is a tools-based book about how do I work this out, it's very practical, is literally a lifeline. So you start from the youngest memory you've got to the present day, and you literally do a graph and say highs, lows, and there's a bit of pattern recognition in the highs and lows. So literally looking at that flow. And if anyone's listening, they could just take a piece of paper, draw a line through it with their age of their youngest memory to now and do the highs and lows and start to do some patterns in that. Now, interestingly, that's probably how I started. The first place I start now, interestingly, because I'll be honest, that for some people is actually quite daunting. So you go, oh, that was a terrible low or that was a high. So I do a bit more of a health warning with that one now. It's still hugely powerful, but for many people, I find the values is the place to start. So your personal value system, what do you really value in life? What's the belief systems behind that? So I find that our values truly are our compass. So I start with value system. What would be your top 5 values? And what do they mean to you? Not just a word of a value, like someone might say connection, or someone might say belonging or freedom. It's the story behind that. So what does that mean to you? So immediately you're into that meaning making. So values is super foundation of life design. And again, if you're talking to other people, most people feel quite comfortable talking about their value system once they know it. But if I ask most people, have you done a whole values mapping perspective? Some people wouldn't, but it's actually a hugely powerful piece. So that's the number one building block. I'd start there now. As I say, even in the book, that the lifeline was first, I would start with values and probably go lifeline second, and then from that into kind of deeper who, which is like the strengths that go behind it. So yeah, values, personal value system, definitely the best place to start.
And you talk a lot in the book about energy and where your energy goes. I'd love you to elaborate on that in terms of, so who, I understand who I really am. So I'm doing my values. So I understand that. Then I'm going to look back to look forward, if you like, and do that lifeline, which I found incredibly helpful because just seeing it on one page, like your entire life, there's something which is very healing about that. And then there was a whole piece around the strengths and the energy. So I'd love you to expand on those two things.
Yeah, let's start with the energy, which again is the with part of the fingerprint, which is the people, places, situations that give energy and take it away. I call them in the book the energy givers and the energy vampires, with sloths in the middle, which is kind of
Mm.
neutral territory. The goal is the biggest shift I've probably made, and I would say is a kind of a good hack on life design, is actually working energy, not time. So if you've got so many hours in a day and that's not going to change, if you think about energy, the good thing about energy is it can multiply. So if you are in an energizing situation, so be that a person and a situation, then there's a multiplication of energy. You plus that person gives you more energy. So that's the multiplier and what I would call the energy givers. So gravitating more of your life to be in the energy givers. Vampires are the opposite, as in a person or a situation and a context. That means that, oh my goodness, I might have only spent 10 minutes on that, but that's the biggest downer of the day, or my energy's really dropped. So being super conscious about energy. And the other thing with that is staying topped up. So if you think about energy a bit like a battery, being conscious that you're not literally running on empty, you're not about to lose all of the energy in your battery. So that's another big part with energy, is to constantly be topping it up. So even if you have to do, and again, we have to do hard things, not everything's going to be super energizing, of course, but you become super conscious that if actually I'm going to do that, I need to be topped up with enough energy before I do it. And actually that might have been depleted, but I'm going to get my energy back up again. So energy is super powerful, and it can be people. Most people can often do this visualization piece, and if people could do it listening to this, is like, can you think of an energy giver? Can you visualize them? What is it they're doing? What is they're saying? And those give you loads of clues about what is it. Often it's people, will they deeply see me? We can have honest conversations. Whatever the thing is about your energy giver, it's like reviewing those and say, okay, how do I get more of those in my life, or more time with the givers? That's the other thing, is they might be in your life and go, that person is a massive energy giver, but we don't catch up as much as we did, or we're not doing the fun things that we did. So energy is a real blend between people and situations. So as we get deeper into life design, the more you can integrate those things. So say it's your best friend and walking on the sand by the ocean is energizing, then you get a bigger multiplier. So over time, I stack my energy. So you go, oh, that plus that. So then the multiplication is much better. It's probably been the biggest. It's a daily practice for me. It's I can totally spot energy, and I've completely moved away from time. I know I live in time. Obviously, you have to get up at a certain time, but again, I don't. I don't moderate by time. I moderate it by energy.
Yeah, which is really good advice. And I guess the starting point is awareness of where you are right now, because a lot
Mm.
of what you just shared comes from awareness. You may not be aware of what actually drains you and what actually energizes you until you actually do a reflection. And so a
Yeah.
tool that I always recommend is just a reflection on yesterday, on the day before, just to understand what actually did energize you and what actually did drain you, and then you can start to optimize your life as you move forward. And let's move on from the who. I'm curious what would be in some of the other areas. So we talked about the what, and a lot of people are keen to focus on the
Yeah.
what, but the where is an important one, because when I think back to my own sort of life experience, moving countries completely
Mm.
shifted absolutely everything, even though at the time it wasn't 100% clear why I was moving, apart from having a bit of a life adventure, midlife adventure, if you like, which it certainly has been. I'm curious. I'm aware that that big shift changed absolutely everything else, including the work I'm doing, the relationships, like
Totally.
everything. So I'm curious to understand how you would work with someone around the where, because we often have a dream someday. In
Yeah.
my case, someday I'd like to live in Australia, and then suddenly someday became the day, and that was scary. And it doesn't have to be quite as dramatic. It could be moving jobs, or it could be moving house, and it could be, but the where, the physical environment, has a big impact on your life experience. So what tools do you have in your toolkit to support people to make that choice?
Yeah. The where, it clearly was huge for you, Lawrence. And again, we've got a similar story there, leaving the UK and coming here. So yeah, the where can be huge for some people and not for others. So I found the where part of that life fingerprint super interesting. In my case, there's some kind of tension, and that would be the same is true of all of life design, actually. So some things you start with, my life's in good alignment. Some things there's tension there. And the tension on my where was honestly moving an expat life. So when I came to Australia, I was living in a beautiful house, but again, it was a rented house, and I come from the UK with a beautiful garden. It was a home, and then we went to Malaysia, and again, nice expat lifestyle. But I didn't put a whole weighting on that, as in over time, I literally and figuratively and literally wanted to put down roots. So that was the overwhelming sense I had on my where am I drawn to, and where am I literally going to put roots? And I've literally, it's funny because I'm looking out the window and I'm surrounded by nature. You've actually seen my place as well.
Stunning where.
But for me, it was huge. So where then you can visualize, and that's another. So a simple way to do it is if you just had to close your eyes and visualize yourself somewhere where you feel a sense of calm. What does it look like? And in my case, it's trees. So there's a lot of trees. There's the ocean not too far away as well. So again, water, the ocean's a huge part of my where as well. There's a calmness, so it's quiet. Again, some people would say this is my worst nightmare. I would love the buzz of the city and I want cafes on every corner. And this is why it's noticing what it means to you, because you either get a sense of energy or calmness that comes from the where, or you'll pick up attentions. And again, just giving yourself the license to say, if I could land myself anywhere right now, what would be the most calming, beautiful place to be in? There's some clues there about your ideal where. And for some people, it's not attention. It's like that's not, they could land anywhere and they'd be happy. For me, it was literally, if I put that analogy of putting down roots, it feels like it's very much that. But mine's a real, and again, people might notice this themselves, a real dichotomy of adventure as well. So why have I traveled all around the world? I've been to, what am I up to now? 57 countries. And so there's a sense of adventure with that. So I'm also very adventurous. So it's a disconnect in a way. I am both adventurous. So I want to go on great holidays and explore. But ultimately, when I'm home, I want to feel grounded and among nature. So our where can actually be different clues. It can be, there's a buzzy side to it, which is exploring. And then there's a grounded side, which is my home and a garden and a, so it's quite nuanced really, but I think starting by projecting yourself into where is it that you feel most yourself. That's the test on all of it. Like, how me am I feeling right now? And the answer is, yeah, I'm feeling very grounded in myself, or I love going to, in my case, I love going to the buzz of the city. I do love nice restaurant, but then I come back and I exhale and big breathe out as well. So it's both are important, but if you go, where do you want to live? It's surrounded by nature. And so it's a really interesting one. But I would just say, if you're looking for a simple way to do it, it's just that sense of, if you had to project yourself into somewhere, what does it look like? What are you doing? What are you surrounded by? Really powerful.
That's really great advice, because the key thing is, just because I live in a beautiful place, which again is by the beach, and I love it here, but being here all the time would not be as great as coming back here to be able to recharge and reset, because I love the buzz of the city. It's very similar. I completely relate to what you just said, and love to.
And that's a good point about joining the dots. So I think if you think about, these aren't like the life fingerprint, all the different components of your life fingerprint, they're not static. So this is where the joining the dots part come in, is so energetically, going back to energy, in my where I need buzzy energy, which I'm going to go into the city for, but then I need grounding, which is home. So they all link together. And then when you look at your value system, oh, that's funny. There's some clues in my value system because that's in there as well. So it's actually life design is actually quite iterative, because that is that, and that makes sense. And then that's more energizing. Oh, that's a nice combination. I'll integrate those. So it builds.
I love this point around joining the dots, which we'll come back to. One last point that's going through my mind is really the what, because as you said at the beginning, a lot of people start with the what, and when my brain goes is back to when I was as a teenager at university, thinking, what is it I want to do? Because I didn't know. This was the issue. And a lot of people would say, what is it you want to do? And at that point in your life, I didn't have an answer. So I was doing things like, I studied psychology because I was interested in people, but I didn't know where that would lead. I didn't really feel like being a psychology. Whereas my other love was history, but I decided not to study history only because the only thing I could see was being a history teacher. And that was, so the what is very important, and certainly caused me a lot of stress in my younger life because I didn't have clarity. And a lot of people will feel a similar way. What is it I want to do? And I guess if I share that during my life journey, what I've learned is that the who with is really important for me rather than the what, because I'm quite happy and adaptable, but working with people that are very aligned, that's really important for my own energy and my own well-being. How do you help people with the what? If they get stuck, and what are the tools to help people get an answer to that, because as you've said many times during this conversation, that we are all unique, and your where suits you but may not suit somebody else. Your why and you're very unique, and you've done that kind of work to really be able to find answers, and you're at a point in your life now where you are living your life design, as I am, which is fantastic. But of course, people are at different stages, so I'm curious to understand, if someone is stuck on the what are some of the ways to help them remove that blockage?
Yeah, I think you have to unpack it beyond that, because again, often people think of it as a job. Like, do I want to do this job, or I could get a promotion over there? And they talk about the name of the job, or do I want to be, like, if you're younger, you're kind of going, do I want to be an accountant, or do I want to be a psychologist? Or so I think it's taking it beyond the base descriptor and saying, what is it that you like doing, which is the who. Fundamentally, who are you and who do you like doing it with? So I always answer what with a who and a with. And even when people are younger, I'm doing this. So again, when my daughters were at school, we did a whole coaching with year 12s even on this. So they didn't, at that point, they'd never done values work or strengths work. So fundamentally joining the dots on those things. So if you kind of go, yes, I spent most of my career in strategy, and then you kind of go, oh, is that your what then, Jill? No, actually, my what was that I'm actually really good at joining the dots on things. And and I've always been really interested in people. So therefore, my what was that I'm good at joining the dots on things and people, which is where life design. And I've also thought spatially. So I love creating a garden or designing a sculpture, or so you're kind of doing clue spotting again. So if people are unclear about what do I do next, I would say, okay, talk me through your value system. Let's do this strengths work. So again, we've not touched on strengths, but what strengths do you really want to amplify? What are you great at? So again, many people couldn't name what they're great at. So it's like, yeah, I'm a collaborative person who loves analytics, or I love joining the dots or big pictures. So there's so many clues there. And then, okay, what are the people, places that give you energy? So by the time you've worked those three out, like value systems here, strengths are there, energies here, you end up with a whole range of options on your what. I could therefore be an amazing project manager, or I could do something there. You got emojis going up on the screen.
Sorry, I just noticed that. It's because I put my thumb up. And
Nice. It's good. New technique's very encouraging. So in terms of that, people are joining the dots on those things. So that ultimately answers it. So you go, okay, if I'm a collaborative person who likes working with other people, and I'm also good at analytics, you might go, oh, you'd be a perfect project manager. Or so often it's almost answered by virtue of doing that. And I host a number of different leadership programs, and we cover this in depth. So that joining the dots, people often say, well, I'm doing this job, but I think I be better off over here because it joins more of the dots, really. So I think the main thing is unpack those elements, values, strengths, energy, and then repack it as, okay, so what do you want to do? Giving all those things are good. So even the fact you did a psychology degree, there was a deep focus on human and human potential that you've come back to later. So I ended up doing biology, history, and geography at A level. So showing them from UK now. And again, my teachers told me they didn't go together at all. And here I am combining all those three things in life design, really. Like, how do we fundamentally work? What's the history of your origin and your lifeline within that? Where do you want to live? Your where? So that, interestingly, they went perfectly well for me, but my version of it. So I've ultimately returned to those. So yeah, clue spotting all the way.
Yeah, it's like being a scientist of your own experience.
Yeah, it's self-anthropology is what I call it. So you're a self-anthropologist.
It's amazing. Yeah, and you're really stepping back to step forward. So to be able to step forward, you've got to unpack, using your language, all of those things. And then it's interesting, really, because I didn't come into this whole world until later. I was probably in my 30s, so I'd moved through. And because this point around that advice, because you do know, like when I look back and now I'm older, I can see that pathway. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was interested in people. So I started psychology, and then from psychology, I went into marketing, and I didn't know what that was, but that was very people focused. And then that kind of expanded. So you can see how it does flow, as long as you have that curious mind to answer some of the questions that you pose. So, sorry, Joe, you're going to say something.
No, it just got me thinking, actually, because when you leave the corporate world, as I did, and I focused on best life design, the fear of judgment was pretty high. So I had this high flying strategy job doing, but people are going to think, what am I doing with best life design? But interestingly, everyone else could join the dots. Oh, that makes complete sense. You could always see the best in individuals, and you did that you worked on that in teams, and you were always good at joining the dots on things. So other people often mirror it back as well, interestingly. So yeah, you've always, that makes complete sense. I'm good. Not that we need validation, but it's kind of handy at times. But interesting that we're joining the dots in a different way, but often people can see what we're great at. So that would be another practical thing people can do, Lawrence, as well, is that in some programs, I get people to, yes, do their own strengths, but ask other people what your strengths are. Once people get over the awkwardness of that, they go, you're really great at dot. And you go, oh, really? I didn't know I was so good at that. So it's actually really affirming to, ask others as well, because sometimes it's our blind spot. So they'll see more deeply what you're great at, probably, than
it's very important. Like growing up in the corporate world, as you did, and having that C-suite role myself, you get very used to 360-degree feedback so much. First time I got it, I was terrified. I thought everyone would say terrible things, and I didn't want to look. And I was really surprised how people saw me compared to how I saw myself. I've developed, since I left that corporate world, also 10 years ago, I developed my own 360 feedback, which I'll actually put in the show notes, because it's helpful for people to then just share that with other people, because it asks those questions and it can give you some really valuable feedback. And sometimes I don't know what questions to ask and don't know how to get started. So I'll share that as a tool. And as we come to the conclusion, it's been a really rich conversation, but I'd love to ask you about some quick wins, some hacks, if you like. Everyone likes the quick wins. I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but what are some of the things, the practical things that people can look to do to help them move towards their own best life design?
Yeah. I think one we've already touched on is transform your day from time to energy and stay top tier. I mean, that's probably the biggest daily game changer. Values, I would definitely say, be up there as a long-term compass. So spending some time on that. But if you wanted a quick win, even anyone listening today, it's like, what if I ran the rest of my day in energy? How does it go? And most people go, wow, that was probably the biggest shift. So energy would be a key one. The other one I've thought about over time is if you had a volume dial and the volume dial was you, and it went from 1 to 10, there's a really good question about how me am I being right now? So if the answer is, yeah, you're seeing 10 out of 10, Gill, and I think we are. We know each other well. We've made space for it. We're comfortable in this conversation. So you go, yeah, we're going to get full volume up. Often people go in another environment, a networking event or something, like, oh, I don't know how this is. We start checking the room and we go, you've probably seen the 5 version or the 4 version. So I think that's a really helpful thing on your life design, is to, and it's probably linked with energy, but just notice over time is, where is my volume in different contexts, in different situations, in my job right now, with my partner, with my friends. So I find that volume dial really helpful. I'm a big fan of Dr. Seuss, a few Dr. Seuss books behind me there, but it's like your Eunice. So if the dial was like, how you are you, as Dr. Seuss would say, what's your Eunice looking right now? I think that volume dial needs to be turned up, and that doesn't mean you're turned up as in it's noisy or it's loud, or it means that I am fully present to who I am and I can express that in this moment, or I'm turning the volume down, I'm not fully being me, because that's masking and exhausting. And so my big advocacy is for human uniqueness, that people can turn their volume dial up. And we've got also the space that it's not just us living our best life, we're actually creating the space for other people to live theirs as well. So yeah, that volume dial is a super helpful thing, because when things feel a bit off for me and go, oh no, that situation really turned my volume down to a 5, and I'm not used to being on a 5. I'm used to having it turned up. So that's another good calibrator. Energy and volume dials, I think, would be the practical ones.
Yeah, it's good. And just building on that, because what goes through my mind, it's like, if you're on this journey, it's like the hero story, isn't it? You're the hero of your story and you're traveling forward. And as you travel towards your best life or your best you, there are a number of adversaries who come along and try and pull you back or pull you down. And when I look at, there's other people, of course, because we're living at this point in time where there is a huge amount of competitors for our attention with social media, like we're living in this world where we can actually give our energy away or give our attention away without realizing. I'll just underline that, because I know this is a big challenge for many people in terms of how to actually create healthy boundaries with the digital world and the real world. And I just want to kind of underline that. I don't know if you've got any thoughts about how people can manage the distractions as they travel forward.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. And it comes back to energy, actually, because I think if you start, it's probably in the is sloth zone and vampire zone on energy. The reason for saying that is that many people go, oh, I just had such an exhausting day at work and I just had to switch off. So actually, scrolling's fine. I kind of go, okay, how's that going for you? Is it topping up your energy? So are you getting exhilarated by scrolling, or it starts as a sloth, as in it might be a decompression because you've had a busy day, but then eventually it's no, before I know it, I've spent half an hour kind of scrolling and my energy is no more topped up. So I think it's noticing and then honestly replacing it with things that do top it up. Because I think people are doing it with the belief that this is actually renewing, or I've had a busy day and it's just about decompressing. But I think if you've got that energy list and kind of go, I know I'm far more energized by taking the dog for a walk, or walking on the beach, or getting out in nature for 5 minutes, or standing in the sunshine when it's a sunny day, or quick things, because sometimes I think, oh, those energy things take ages. No, they're actually 5-minute hacks or something. And once you do that, you kind of kick yourself out of that zone quite regularly. So I think it's just noticing. It's not saying social media is terrible, or it's just got a place. So I think if you build a broader energy plan and it's got a role within it, kind of go, I love watching that Netflix series and that's my Tuesday night and I love it. But then when you've watched it for 3 hours or 4 hours and you kind of go, oh, that tipped over. So I think to summary, awareness again, which is what you highlighted before, Lauren. I think it's just being aware. Nothing in life design is good or bad. It's just like, how's that going for you right now? Is that topping
Mm.
you up or depleting? And kind of manage it accordingly, really. So I think the clue still goes back with energy. If you notice you're less energized rather than more, then that's a good clue to say, right, this needs some recalibration.
Yeah, and you can be very choiceful. So a lot of the focus is building the awareness. So yeah, you can make those choices about whether you want to do something that's going to drain your energy or top up your energy. And I guess the other thing I hear is just because some is good, a lot is not necessarily better. And that's something
Yeah,
we've always got
totally.
to be
Success.
aware of. So, Jill, a question I always ask all of my guests, given this is the Finding Equilibrium show, and that very much aligns with what you just said. Nothing's good, nothing's bad, but everything has its point of equilibrium. What do those words mean to you, finding equilibrium? And what do you personally do to find equilibrium in your own life?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. And I think back to the origins of best life design, and it's not the balanced version, because some people say equilibrium's balance, but I love it's not that, it's the integration of it. So I would probably integrate life. That would be the main thing I would do, is to say, all these things are the kind of ingredients of my life design. How do I integrate that into my life? And actually build life integration plan. So in my case, what am I doing for my health and well-being? What's work and purposeful? What is the connection with other people? And am I fully integrating all those elements? So for me, equilibrium is the power is in the integration, that those things beautifully integrate together. And when they're integrated, I feel in equilibrium. If I push on one lever and go, I'm going to go really heavy on work, and I don't care of my well-being, or I don't connect with others, then it crashes and you go, okay, that wasn't equilibrium. So I think it's a bit like a wobble board. If you can imagine yourself in the wobble board of your own life and go, this feels about right. I feel pretty centered. I'm fully being me with the volume dial up. I've got a nice blend of meaningful work and my health and well-being's good, and I'm connecting with others. You go, that feels right for me. So again, there's a felt sense of it feeling integrated and aligned. So it's almost like I'm in the center of my own life plan here. And that for me would be what equilibrium feels like to me.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And thank you, Jill, for spending time with us today. I know you're super busy. I really want to acknowledge you for everything you've done in terms of not just talking about Think, Plan, Live and writing a book, but living it. From the time I've known you, you really are living what you actually teach and share with others. So huge congratulations. Where can people find out more? I Think, Plan, Live is a good starting point for anybody interested in this whole area.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for those kind words. Again, we've really, given the work that you do and I work, there's so much synergies in that. So yeah, lovely reflections there. I think, yes, thinkplanlive.com would be a kind of key place to go. So to do that, or find me on LinkedIn as well, or the book, Think Plan Live's kind of sitting behind you. So if kind of people are interested in life design, it can either be the book itself, or there's an audio book. Of a lot of people get subscription service. So there's an audio book as well. And also, we're about to do a retreat version, aren't we?
We are, which is amazing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, just bring in the whole think, plan, live and life design to life. And I think really what I've learned during the journey of my life, some people are very disciplined and will work through exercises and don't need others to support them. And it comes back to understanding who you really are. But others need that energy of a collective to actually do it. So yeah, we're doing a 3-night, 4-day retreat in the beautiful Central Coast in New South Wales, and which is going to be amazing to be in that environment. I know we're going to be experiencing your amazing house as well, and your gardens and all the sculptures. So it's going to be incredible. The perfect environment to really think about these things. What is really important to me? What are my strengths? Who am I really? All of those things to set us up for success as we continue this journey of life. And even though there are, and when you look at the lifeline, we look back to work that through. And of course, we can create a forecast going forward. As we do in the corporate world, we're always forever creating forecasts, and we can do the same in our own life to say, where do I want to invest my energy in the next period? Yeah, so it's a real honor for me to be working with you to really help others to design and live their best lives.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, no, it's a great combination. We've got Rebecca joining as well. And I agree, doing it in a retreat format, you can just hold the space for people to literally unpack and repack it, join the dots over a long weekend. So I'm super excited. It's taken me 10 years from leaving the corporate world to the first retreat, but it feels right. It feels time. So I'm super looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Thank you, Gill. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And thank you, everyone, for your time and your attention. And remember, nothing's good, nothing's bad. Continue to find the equilibrium that works for you. See you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lawrence.